at Arizona State University. I continue to teach. I mean, I've taught an exercise prescription class to majors within a kinesiology program, nutrition classes. Yeah.
Um, if you don't mind, when I go back, can I email you and ask for a syllabus, like what kind of the class outline from you?
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, but right now I don't teach a traditional fitness education class. But yeah, you can.
Um,
They're mostly broken out into more like a nutrition class and then an exercise prescription class. They're not all in one specific class. Because I don't teach a class for general ed for college students, but I used to at Arizona State University.
mm,
I may still have that syllabus. I think I might.
okay. Um, so to the interview questions, so what do you think health related fitness knowledge mean to college students?
Well, having health related fitness knowledge is one of the pieces of information they need to be independently physically active. And I think it helps them lead to independence, having that knowledge.
Mhm.
Um, I think it also, having that knowledge might protect them a little bit from a lot of the false information that's in our field or in our, yeah, the profession in particular. Um, can you restate the question again?
What do you think the health related fitness knowledge mean to the college students
What
in
does it,
general?
what does it mean to them? What does it
What's
mean
the
to them?
meaning?
What's the value?
What's the value? Yeah.
Well, the value is that it moves them towards independence, as I already
Uh-huh.
said. I think the value is it helps them become critical consumers. I think that's important. Um, I think it's important for awareness, makes them aware. So awareness is often a first step for people to changing behaviors. Um, yeah, that feels
And
good.
that's pretty much it. Uh, so when you teach your students fitness knowledge, how do you structure? Do you have a like a framework to construct the knowledge and deliver it to the students?
Well, yes, I mean, I have materials. Um, I mean, like textbooks. I've written textbooks on them. So there's one right over there, right? So
Yeah.
it's like I have a established curricula. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Mm. So you just mainly focus on the material on the textbook.
Well, that informs the curriculum.
Hmm.
But are you asking about all the experiences within
Hmm.
the curriculum? Oh, I mean, so ask the question again.
So let's say if you're writing a curriculum for the students, what kind of structure or framework you follow to put things together?
I don't understand the question. I mean, are you asking about practices or are you asking about curriculum development? Are you asking about methods of delivery? I'm
The
not sure.
content, like the content of knowledge,
Oh,
what's the structure like? This is
okay. Well, that's different. Structure to me is different than the
okay.
content. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, are you asking me about the topics that I would cover?
Yes.
Okay, that's different. That's a very different question than the structure.
Okay.
Um, so in terms of content, well, do you want me to tell you all the content?
That's we can talk about that later because I have a specific question about that. But because the reason I'm asking you about the framework is there is no framework right now for like if I'm doing a research on fitness knowledge, I don't have a framework to follow to structure
You mean like a theoretical framework?
or conceptual framework? Not.
Even a conceptual framework? Well, I mean, there is there are the benchmarks, the instruction, the framework for
Yeah.
fitness education.
Hmm.
Isn't that an existing framework that can work?
I, yes, that's one proposed by actually a research group in our university. The
It's the
NASB,
shape, yeah, but it's,
NASB
yeah,
framework. Yeah.
instructional framework for
Right.
fitness education.
Right.
So that could be used.
Okay.
You know, that's a framework that could be used. I mean, a framework that I use, I guess, yeah, I guess if you're asking me, the framework that I would also go by would be the physical activity pyramid that we use. Are you familiar with the physical activity pyramid? Right? So
Mhm.
that allows us to look at all the components of health-related fitness and what would be taught.
Mhm.
And even underlying that is why, you know, first of all, you'd say, well, how much physical activity is enough? How much fitness is enough?
Mm.
You know, so that gives us that's a framework.
Okay.
Um, yeah. The other framework that I like is the Stairway to Lifetime Fitness model that we use, moving people from dependence to independence. So that gives me a framework to determine what is important to move people to independence, right? And a lot of that is using self-management skills
Mhm.
or teaching self-management skills. And they are skills, not just knowledge, right? So
Right.
how do I self-assess this? How do I overcome barriers, which are skills? How do I actually find social support?
Mhm.
Those kinds of things, yeah. So that helps.
And the next question is kind of you kind of asked this answered part of it. So what kind of health related fitness knowledge do you expect college students to acquire during the 4 years? And
Yeah.
how is that different from the knowledge they had before in high school?
Over the 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, what we know about, even about majors that come into like kinesiology or teacher ed programs,
Mhm.
is that they have limited knowledge
Mhm.
of fitness concepts
Yeah.
because they're not teaching them in high school physical education. They're stuck in the old 2 weeks of this sport, 2 weeks of that sport.
Mhm.
So they have limited knowledge when they come in. So the things that I think are really important for them to know are um, to understand the components of health-related fitness,
Components.
components of health-related
Although
fitness.
they're expected to know that before, mm,
Sure, but they don't.
it's taught in high school, but yeah,
Well, no, we're not certain that it's taught in high school. Are we?
right?
Are we certain that it is? I routinely have majors in our program that don't know the components of health-related fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that's important. So first understanding what are the components of health-related fitness. Um, then the fit formula, right? Training principles. I could be specific if you want on training principles. I think the principle of progression is important. The principle of specificity and the principle of overload, which is embedded in progression, but
Uh-huh.
I think those are three really. I think actually the principle of rest is important, and a lot of people miss out on that because they just think they should train every day. Um, what are some other things that I think should be important in fitness education? Um, nutrition concepts, basic nutrition concepts.
Like what component of nutrition is especially important for fitness? Like there are different nutrition groups.
Yes, yes.
Do you think all of them should be in?
Yeah, what's specific to nutrition should I think? I think energy balance is important.
Mhm.
understanding food groups.
Okay.
Yeah, understanding what the different food groups are.
Seems like it's taught in elementary school.
Yeah, it does seem like that, but
So the question here is, we have standards for each level, elementary, middle school, high school, and in reality, that the students didn't achieve what we expected from them. And is this our responsibility in higher ed to teach them again the old knowledge, or should we just go ahead and move on with new knowledge?
I don't think we can make that assumption.
Okay.
I don't think we can make that assumption at all. I think in nutrition they have to be able to something important, a skill would be to complete a food log and analyze it, right? So, and understanding, yeah, no, there's a lot. There's a lot that would be in there, but I guess nutrition's quite vague. Um, I mean, are you asking me to talk about everything or the most important things? Reframe the question for me again.
Um, so what health-related fitness knowledge do you expect students to learn in college, and how is
Yeah.
that different from the knowledge for high school students?
Oh, and how is that different?
Yeah, because they're expected to have certain kind of knowledge when they graduate high school, and if you expect them to learn some new knowledge in college, and how is that different, and why do you think they should learn, they should acquire the new knowledge?
Well, if I if I'm answering honestly, I don't think they get it in high school.
Hmm.
I don't think it's different. I don't From my experience, students aren't learning about fitness education concepts in high school. I mean, teachers might be there's there are pockets of places where people are doing a good job of that, but it's mostly just it's mentioned in passing in a class or something, but they're mostly doing sports-based activities. They're not really learning about those concepts. And if they are, it's very superficial. There's no depth to it.
So, so it's okay when we um, develop the knowledge test for college students, we can still use the things from high school curriculum. Is that,
I mean, is the question, is it okay?
yeah? Is it
I don't
okay?
know if it's okay. I just think um, it depends what your objective is. I mean, if you want to test higher levels of knowledge with college students, you're going to have to teach them higher levels of knowledge.
Okay. Yeah.
But they might not have higher levels of knowledge.
That's what we want to find out if they have it or not. Not just I want
So
to see.
have they taken a course yet, or are we just assessing them? Like I'm kind of not clear on the
That's another question. But I can jump to that and
go
ask
go
you
ahead
that.
go ahead.
So if there is a test, fitness knowledge test, what would you think the the purpose is for college students? Should it be used at the entrance level to decide what class they should take,
Yeah,
or after a fitness class to test how much they learn? Which way do you
both
think is more valuable?
both
Both. And
both.
how should these two tests be different from each other, or
Well, no, I don't actually think you need them to be different. Is if there is or if there are some or if there is knowledge that you want them to learn,
hmm
and that's the objective for them to learn this knowledge in the college course. Okay, yeah, you might as well stream them in. Meaning, if someone can answer all the questions already, they don't need the college course.
right?
If they already have all the knowledge, they don't need it. Um, then they can go. Maybe the option is if they ace the pre-test, they can go and do whatever course they like. But if they don't ace that, then they might get streamed into, I mean, if you have the capacity, sort of beginner, intermediate,
Hmm.
it wouldn't be advanced. You'd have sort of level one or level two of the course, right?
Yeah.
And then ultimately, then after they take the course, then they should be able to answer whatever questions at the end.
Okay.
So if it's the level one course, it's maybe a smaller set of objectives, and if it's the level two course, it's the largest set of objectives or something, right?
Mm.
Because in a semester, you only have a certain amount of time to deliver information, and you want to give them experiences too, not just book knowledge. You want them to practice skills,
Skills.
self-management skills. Yeah, yeah.
Because that's interesting because I want to ask some other expert and said the test should be aligned with the course curriculum. So you just assess what they taught, what's taught in the class. But
Well,
is that
certainly, but if we can agree that, let's just set all that aside, and let's say we can agree that there's some fitness knowledge that we think college students need to achieve. Well, we already know what that is, so it's backwards design still.
right?
Here are the outcomes. Let's create a course that matches these outcomes, that includes experiences, but we can still take those objectives and see if they can meet them right off the bat in
Hmm.
terms of the knowledge piece.
Yeah.
And then if they can, they don't need to take the course, right?
Hmm.
They've already got the knowledge. Why would we put them through stuff that they already know, when we're assessing their prior knowledge and they've already got it all? If not, then they take the course that addresses that knowledge,
Right.
right? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Um, so have you used any instrument to test your students' fitness knowledge? What kind of assessment?
Well, again, I'm not teaching
Have,
general ed courses to college students, so
okay.
no.
No.
I mean, when I taught at ASU and I taught a more general ed, I did have written tests, yes.
Hmm. And how did you uh, how did you find the items for the test, or you just make
Well,
up?
I was using Corbin's
Oh.
high school text, concepts of fitness, health, and wellness. So I was selecting questions from not only a test bank, but also I created test questions based on the curricula. And the curricula was, again, based around the physical activity pyramid, that framework. Yeah.
So, could you please share some of your like the things you learned from using the test, like the advantage, something that's good, and something you think is challenging for you for using the
Yeah,
test.
and this is where I might not be one of your best participants because it's so long ago. I mean, we're talking about 16 years ago. So coming back to the challenges and um, well, I guess that one that's always difficult is that it's difficult to create quality multiple choice questions, right? Because some
Mhm.
people are just good at writing
Mhm.
those kinds of tests. I think one of the challenges is that knowledge knowledge is important, and that's what you're after in this examination. But I think, well, I guess you're just asking about the knowledge. I guess what I was getting at is that's not the only thing. We want to look at behaviors too a little bit. But
Right.
in terms of the knowledge question,
Yeah. When you assess students' knowledge, what's the difficult part?
I don't really think there was a difficult part.
It's easy for you. It's your-
Yeah, it was easy for me, I think. Yeah.
And how did you use the result of your test in terms of instruction, design, or student feedback?
Um,
When you
I guess if I noticed, because I did analytics on on the test item. So I would take it to the testing center and they'd tell me which test items didn't discriminate between students, which ones did. So what I was able to do was I was able to use the results to review learning, to go back to items that maybe they had difficulty with, right? So it gave me feedback on where the students were at so that I could go back and maybe reteach, explain something in a different way, create discussion around a topic. Yeah, it helped me address gaps.
How about the students' feedback? Do they give you any feedback on the test itself?
No, no, I didn't get feedback on the test.
So about the test items, what kind of questions do you think are appropriate for students? Like multiple choices,
Yeah, I was typically using multiple choice and short answer, mostly multiple
short
choice.
answer, and how would you like? What's the criteria to grade
Well,
those
you can
questions?
use all on, in terms of like Bloom's taxonomy. You familiar with Bloom's taxonomy with
Yeah.
the low, like identifying,
Application.
listing, and then at the top create,
Hmm.
right? So you can ask a lot of lists, a list or um, identify, describe kind of questions. So mostly it was lower level on Bloom's taxonomy. It was like lower level, yeah, lower level questions, sort of like, what are the four component, the fit formula, like frequency, intensity, time, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you could do that in multiple choice pretty effectively. I think yeah, in terms of getting at their knowledge, I didn't use a lot of short answers to get at their knowledge. But again, that was so long ago for me. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. Um, how about true and false?
Oh, actually, I guess no. Let me go back. I mean, if I'm talking about students nowadays, in my nutrition classes, I do use short answer, and sometimes I use case studies.
So for case study, do you give them a case and the questions are in multiple choice form?
No,
Just
I give them I might give them a case of a particular person and ask them the steps that they might go through to work with the client. So then it would be some listing, but it would be sort of, okay, I might do a food log, and then I would analyze the food log, and so it's sort of the steps they would take based on the case. Yeah.
it's for not for general major students, for
No, this isn't for general majors. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, for general it would be different because they're not going to work. It's for
with
their.
case.
It's for their. They're not going to work with clients. They're just
Right.
working, on themselves.
Hmm.
But I could see that kind of approach working with general ed students. Like, okay, so actually, in particular, the steps in program planning, right? Okay, so
Right.
what's the first thing you're going to do? Okay, I'm going to do a self-assessment. Then I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to choose some activities. Then I'm going to develop my plan, and then I'm going to self